Thank you, and I'm very pleased to be here. Friends, after 1 year of genocide, maybe we thought, maybe the world thought that Israel had exhausted its reservoir of barbarity and horror, had nothing left to demonstrate about its capacity to unleash and to tolerate acts of the most obscene depravity. And then, this week, we all saw the images of 19-year-old Shaban al-Dalu burning alive, still tied to his IV drip, his last moments on earth filled with an agony that cannot be imagined. There are moments when a single image can come to symbolize the brutal nature of an entire system of oppression, as did the image of Emmett Till's disfigured face after his murder at the hands of southern white racists symbolize the horrors of segregation, and as did the image of Kim Phuc burnt by napalm symbolize the horrors of America's colonial war in Vietnam. Because what the film of Shaban al-Dalu's death revealed is not an isolated moment of horror, but the raw, brutal face of Israel's decades-long system of oppression of the Palestinian people. What we saw was not, as Israel and its allies would have us believe, the act of a state defending itself, because the truth is, Israel is not defending itself. That story only makes sense if history began on October the 7th. But you know, and I know, that that is not true. The reality is that since 1948, Israel has employed an unbroken chain of brutal violence in order to dispossess an indigenous people, colonize their land, ethnically cleanse those it is able to, and subject those it does not ethnically cleanse or kill to life of subjugation under a system of apartheid. The horrific burning alive of Shaban al-Dalu is the raw, naked, barbaric face of this system of oppression that on a daily basis, on October the 6th and on October the 5th and on October the 4th and on every day before that, stretching back to 1948, has sought to strip a people of their dignity, humiliate them, imprison them, demolish their homes, separate them from their land and from each other, and periodically slaughter them. And friends, the other truth, confirmed in its starkness this week, is that this system of oppression is supported across Israeli society. Shaban al-Dalu's death has not led to soul-searching across the Israeli mainstream. Instead, again, this week, we have all seen videos of Israeli citizens dancing in bars in Tel Aviv to the popular song, "May Your Villages Burn." When you burn Palestinian villages, as Israelis do, what happens is that Palestinians die in the way we all saw Shaban al-Dalu die this week. The racist mindset and the ideology of Zionism, which established a system of oppression built on one overarching principle, that in all of the land between the river and the sea, one people, Jewish Israelis, have rights, and another, Palestinians, no rights at all, has been shown in the last 12 months to be capable, when the opportunity arises, as it did last October, to progress into a full-blown policy of extermination, a policy of genocide. And of course, additionally, as we across the Palestine Solidarity movement have warned for months. Granted impunity, Israel is now extending its carnage, carpet bombing and killing thousands, mostly civilians, in Lebanon, targeting UN bases and now threatening a major war with Iran, which could engulf the entire world. And in the midst of all of this, still, the shameful and unforgivable complicity of our political leaders, the Starmers of this world, who even as Israel stands charged in the world's highest court for the crime of genocide, even as Benjamin Netanyahu faces arrest at the ICC, and even as Palestinians like Shaban al-Dalu burn alive on our screens, continue to protect Israel from accountability, continue to sell it weapons. Now, in the midst of all of this darkness, the only light has been the endurance of the Palestinian people and the extraordinary flowering of solidarity we have seen globally, but especially here in the UK from ordinary citizens. As the political establishment has doubled down on its complicity, we collectively have built an extraordinary movement of resistance, expressed in the demonstrations of unprecedented size in London, which I know most of you will have been on, but also in the days of action, which has seen protests, marches and boycott actions taking place in towns and cities across the country, often led by PSC branches, in the workplace, days of actions, in the pickets of arms factories and the pickets and sit-ins of complicit companies like Barclays Bank. Now, solidarity begins as an act of empathy, as an act of love, from a simple recognition that an injustice to anyone, anywhere, is an injustice to everyone, everywhere. It is the sentiment expressed in the James Baldwin poem read so beautifully by Alexi Sal at our protest yesterday that begins, "Every bombed village is my hometown, and every child, every dead child is my child. Every grieving mother is my mother. Every crying father is my father. Every home turned to rubble is the home that I grew up in." But the solidarity that the Palestinian people demand of us is a solidarity that turns empathy into action. It is love made political, and what Palestinians require of us in terms of meaningful action is unchanging. Yesterday, PSC hosted Omar Barghouti, the Palestinian co-founder of the boycott, divestment and sanctions movement, at a conference we held for trade unionists. He repeated the message he has consistently given us. He said, "What we ask for you when we ask for solidarity is not an act of charity, but a simple commitment that you do us no harm. And to do no harm means that you end the complicity of your government, of your public bodies, and your companies and your corporations, without whose support Israel could not sustain its system of oppression." So friends, that means that we continue to put pressure on politicians through our street actions and our lobbies. PSC is organising a national lobby of Parliament on November the 27th. We would like you all to be there. It means that we escalate our campaigns calling for public bodies to divest, like the PSC campaign targeting local government pension schemes who collectively invest over £4 billion in complicit companies. And it means we target those companies directly, companies like Barclays Bank. You can find out how you can join all of those actions on PSC's website. One additional date for you: on November the 17th, we will be holding the Nets National Day of Action on Barclays, calling for people to close their accounts. There will be pickets and sit-ins at banks across the country. So far, over 4,000 people have responded to that call and have closed their accounts. We know that Israel is becoming increasingly isolated. On trial at the world's highest court, its leaders facing prosecution at the ICC. This week, Italy, even Italy, under the leadership of the far-right ethno-nationalist Meloni, decided it could no longer justify selling weapons to Israel. And across the world, where governments like ours do not act, their citizens are rallying and winning important boycott and divestment victories. The message is being delivered to corporations across the world. There is no more business as usual with a state enacting the crimes of genocide and apartheid. Companies like G4S, Orange and Puma have been forced to abandon contracts by BDS campaigns. The credit agency, Moody's, has downgraded Israel's rating, warning it will soon reach junk status. And here in the UK, councils like Waltham Forest and universities like King's College have got the message and are divesting from arms companies supplying Israel with weapons. So finally, please join us in all of these campaigns. Be back with us on the streets on November the 2nd when we march again on the anniversary of the Balfour Declaration, 3 days before the US election, where we will march from Whitehall, from the Foreign Office, the site of Balfour, to the US Embassy, the belly of the beast. Let me end by reasserting this truth. Israel has no right to defend itself whilst it uses force to maintain a system of oppression. It is the Palestinian people who have a right to resist, including, as enshrined within international law, through armed resistance. They will never give up their struggle for liberation. You can assassinate individuals, but you can never kill a spirit of resistance rooted, founded in the principle that it is better to die on one's feet than live a life of subjugation upon one's knees. So as long as the Palestinian people struggle for freedom, so will we sustain our solidarity, so will we maintain our protests, maintain our campaigning, maintain our boycotting until the day of liberation arrives. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. Thank you.